it's going to be the same cat and mouse game when it comes to financial success. So you have to realize there are going to be versions of success that you need to find outside of monetary, because the money ain't it. The money can provide some of those things that we spoke about, but when you get the money, you hear it all the time. Will Smith said, "I hope and I wish that everyone could be rich so they can know what it feels like and realize it's not all that." Will Smith is way richer than me, way richer than us. He's like, "I wish everyone had the feeling of being rich and wealthy so that they could find out what true happiness actually means, because it's not that." Let's go. Everyone's chasing the bag, but what if we told you the real flex is owning your time, making memories with your family, and building a legacy that outlives you? Today, we'll be talking about redefining success and what it truly means to build a meaningful life.
Welcome back to More Than a Side Hustle podcast. I am Janoka.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are happy to have you here week after week as we talk about our lives, entrepreneurship, parents, marriage, business, all of the things, vacations, all of the things.
Yeah, we were talking about how to build a meaningful life and what it actually means to be successful. And this conversation came up, and I'm always listening to different podcasts. I'm always trying to learn and grow. And when we talk about success, one of the biggest things we think about is money, right? We're like, oh, the more money we have, the more successful we have. And I think that just comes from, what does that actually come from? What's your thoughts on that?
In general, that's how you measure success. Most people, how successful they are, they tend to ask like, what's your career? And that connects to how much money you're making.
Yep.
So if someone knows they're a doctor or a lawyer, you're like, oh, you're doing really well for yourself, because you know that they tend to make a lot of money, or engineer. Or if somebody says they're a teacher, it's not the same reaction as someone. No, I'm serious.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
not the same reaction.
Used to be a teacher, or
as someone that didn't know is a lawyer. It's not valued the same. Probably because of the cost of money attached to it. That's not the only reason, but that has to do with it. It's just not the same reaction. So a lot of times we see success as money, but also in the society that we grow up in, or the way that we're raised, when we think about 9 to 5, success is going into the career that you like. Once again, going back to work and kind of around that. And so money is generally attached to that, but it can be so much more. I'm not here to say money doesn't matter, but you know, for us, success looks different, I think, at different times of your life as well, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're at a low point and you need a job, then getting one is being successful. But it can be so much more, and you can build on so much more than that.
Remember The Pursuit of Happiness? You remember that movie?
Will Smith in the bathroom with his son crying?
Yeah, why was he crying?
Because he couldn't get the job that he wanted, right?
And then what happened?
He eventually got it.
And then what happened?
The movie ended? I don't really know.
This podcast is done. The Pursuit of Happiness is about money, Will Smith getting a job. But, you know, once he got that job, it was more about fulfillment in his life. And obviously he was at a low point. You were just speaking about that. But I was listening to a pod. Oh, go ahead.
Something in discussion, in saying this, I am thinking to myself now, can you truly be successful without having some type of money, though? Like some of the things that we're going to go over now, without money, can you even attain it? Probably not.
It depends. Some of these things you actually
some
can.
Of them, yeah. Well, some of them I would say yes, because this is why some people say just because you're rich doesn't mean that you're happy and all those type of things. But there are other things. But I think, you know, having the money allows for some of these stuff, though.
And I think this episode is extremely important right now, because where we are in the world and in the market, it is depending on when you listen to this episode, it could be a year from today, but right now it's a bloodbath in the market. It is literally a bloodbath. The markets are as low as the markets have been achieving record lows. We're having a high amount of layoffs during this time. So February, March, April, like all these months back to back to back have been record months in terms of layoffs. And it's going to be the particular time that we got to find success and happiness outside of the amount of income we bring in. We got to find other ways to be happy during this time, because we might not find it, you know, in generating income. Well, some of us, right? There's always going to be people spending. There's always going to be people making money throughout the amount of time in history. When the markets are like this is when people tend to build the most wealth, because they're the ones that actually go out and invest and learn and grow. They're like,
and do something about it.
Right? So I was listening to a podcast, and this just talks about we talk about success and we think about money, but this person had they had a particular app. It was an app, and they was talking to a founder, and they was trying to find ways to get investors. And one of the things they said was, "Oh, I can't get investors because most investors are white." And truth be told, most investors, when you go through seed rounds and funding and options that work with venture capitalists, most of that's a white league for the most part, right? To be completely transparent, you guys know this. We ain't teach you nothing here, but you know, they got on the phone. They spoke to a black founder, and they said you don't absolutely have to go that route. Mm-hmm. They said you have enough people in your network, you have enough resources that you can go another route where you don't need to be quote unquote successful by having a big venture capitalist fund backing you. Mm-hmm. And the first thing they thought about was, oh, I need to go get funding in order to be successful. Like, no, you're successful right now where you are. You just need to change your environment and get around the right people who will give you better advice. Because what you're hearing and what you're seeing is the absolute wrong advice that will keep you exactly where you are today. And that's why it's important to get around the right people.
And I also think that when it comes to success, it's different depending on what you're going for, right? So at night, sometimes we're like, that's a successful day with the kids. Like, right? It doesn't always have to be this grand thing when it comes to success. It can be something pretty small, like I made it through the day, I made it through the week, I made it through this meeting with whoever or whatever it may be. I made it through a hard conversation with a family member or a friend. So it does look different in different ways, but these are some of the ways that success looks like outside of money that we wanted to talk about that sometimes people don't consider or think about. Which this first one, I think, is our biggest one that we scream to the top of the mountains all the time. And it is freedom of time. And I don't know that we as human beings in general, not just the audience, us too, that happens. I don't know that we really appreciate or think about time as much. I mean, now as you get older, maybe you're thinking about it more. But you cannot buy back time. That's one thing that we're very particular about. So whatever we're putting...
Well, you can buy back time.
Oh, with the guy we was watching?
What?
On the Kardashians, where he's getting younger? The Venmo guy? Anyway.
You got to explain what that was. What?
I don't know the real details of it, but he's like reversing his time. He's getting younger.
So you got people who are biohacking their bodies and their age, and we're talking about buying back your time. And they're like, his metabolism is the age of a 20-year-old,
but he's really 60. So I don't know if he's 60, maybe 45. I don't know.
So technically, you could buy back your time with that, but buying back your time would means that you're spending money to get time for. So like, we talk about meal prep or laundry.
Okay, things like that. But generally, most of us are not doing that. So the freedom of time is such a big deal for us in this household that, you know, if Anthony or myself get on calls, it has to make sense because you're taking away from our time from doing something else, mostly probably for the family, for the kids, and that's important to us, right? Time to be able to go on vacations, not everyone has enough PTO or enough time to be able to do those things or to visit family and friends. Time to be able to go on a date for an hour or two with your spouse. So freedom of time is so important. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we scream about. And when it comes to our success outside of money, anything else you would say about that at all?
Yeah. So I would say if you had the ability to have complete control and freedom over your time, what would that look like? So I know
that's hard for some people.
That's hard for me. I know you've done the whole journey. Like you'll wake up, go do Pilates, have a Starbucks,
I don't even drink Starbucks or coffee, people. He's lying.
You don't drink Starbucks?
Huh?
You don't drink Starbucks?
Well, yeah, but I don't drink coffee. People usually think Starbucks is coffee.
Oh, you said I don't drink Starbucks, but you do drink Starbucks.
Once every 2-3 weeks?
That is drinking Starbucks. So when you think about having freedom of your time, so I know that I want to spend the morning. I don't want to have to spend the morning rushing throughout our day because we got to get the kids out and ready for school. So one of the things I started doing was going to the gym before they wake up. So I was like, all right, by 7 o'clock, I can come in. I've been doing, so my morning routine. People talk, I'm not going to do we got to even talk about that.
Oh, what's his name?
Ashton Hall. Morning routine.
Yeah.
But my morning routine has been for the last, I'll probably say the last couple weeks. It's been the last 2-3 weeks.
Yeah. But it basically seems like I've been doing this for 7 months.
It's been the last 2-3 weeks. I always wake up early.
Yeah.
But what I've been trying to do was I don't want to rush and have to run out and run to the gym. So one thing I've been doing is waking up a little bit earlier. So I will wake up, and I don't even know if you noticed, I've been doing Calm meditation app. So I've been doing this, the same Calm meditation app, and it's like 10-minute routine. I'll sit in my closet in the dark because I can't go in the living room because I hear people driving and stuff like that. So I'll sit in the closet because that's where my clothes are, and I don't want to wake you up. So I'll sit there, listen to the Calm app, breathe in, breathe out for 10 minutes. I'll get up, out the closet, get dressed, brush my teeth, wash my face, all that stuff, go to the gym. So now when I come back, I'm calm. I exhausted my body. I got my mind in the right place. So now I go in and wake up our daughter.
And time does look different for us since we don't work a standard 9 to 5. And I say standard 9 to 5 because we be in this office still for a certain amount of hours. And honestly, that's a whole nother topic, like entrepreneurship looking different from what I thought. But time does look different from when we were working full-time jobs. But like you said, we're able to move slower, prioritize rest, making sure that we do exercise because we have a bit more time in our day. But that's the whole reason for us, at least for entrepreneurship, for being able to have options, being able to get that freedom of time, because you cannot get time back, essentially, is what I was saying.
So what about to the non-entrepreneur? I mean, our goal of this show is to help people who have 9 to 5s create options. So let's create options for the people who aren't entrepreneurs. What would that look like, freedom of time for them? So for us, when we're going to talk about, it's going to be always, you guys, so it was before when we had the freedom of time, we didn't have kids. So we used our time to grind, to create more income so that we could pay off the debt. That was our version of freedom of time.
Yeah.
We had the time, it was flexible, and we controlled it. We were able to control our time throughout that. Then it's like, okay, you have kids. So you guys are saying, well, if you got kids, what do I do then? And I have a 9 to 5. So I was talking to a lady, and we were doing our coaching call, and I said, is there any time during your day where you have the ability to just do nothing? And she's like, yeah, I have about 3 hours once my kids go down or whatever. I was like, what time is that? She's like, usually from like 9 to 12. I was like, wait, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's 3 hours. Yeah. So it was like 9 to 10. It was like 9 to 11, 11:30 or something like that. So I was like, you at least have 2 hours of freedom and flexibility that you could do whatever you want. She said, yes. And I was like, is there any more times throughout the day? She's like, well, I got 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there. I was like, okay, now this is starting to add up. I'm not even going to count that. Let's just focus on that 2 to 3 hour window that you have at night. What are you doing during that time? She's like, I'm usually just watching TV. I was like, is it something that you want to do or accomplish instead of watching TV? And we kind of went through it, and she was like, oh, yeah, I could use that time. Even if I don't use the full 2 hours, she said I could use about an hour of that time just to get some work done. And that's what we talk about, having our freedom of time, because you could find it. It's just about making it.
Do you have to wake up earlier, before the kids get up? I see a lot of those. You speak about routines, but I do watch a lot of routine videos of moms and just people in general. And I've seen people, wake up at 4:30. And I'm like, baby.
Some people are morning people.
Yeah. Or they make themselves morning people because they are prioritizing whatever it is. They're waking up earlier to make sure they meditate, make sure they pray, do something for themselves before they attack the world, essentially. Because yes, once you get them kids up, get the day started, get to work, there is like no time to breathe during that time. So can you wake up a little earlier? Can you do something at the end of the day? And maybe it's not every day, because I completely understand, like, when the kids go down or when it's the end of the day, I don't want to look at nobody. I don't want to do anything.
Happens to us.
But if there is something that's important to you, can you set the time apart to do it? So
yes or yes.
Yes or yes. Next, so that was the first one. Freedom of time is something that's important, that is, we measure as success outside of just money. The second one is impact on our family. So go ahead. Oh, no. So us being home does not mean that you are necessarily with your family the entire time. Like we have had with our first daughter, we had a nanny full time. And then with our second daughter, we now have an au pair, and our oldest is in school, right? So during the day, we're not necessarily with her all the time, but we're able to still check in because she's in the house, right? It's not like she's somewhere else, so we can still kind of see her. And having, the ability to kind of always be around. If there's something happening at Alani's school at 12 in the afternoon, we can show up. If there's something happening and they tell us within 2 hours, we can be there. That impact of being able to show up whenever you want, being able to have time to take her places on the weekends, after school, that type of stuff is just as important for us as money, and even more, I would say.
and breaking generational curses and creating opportunities for our children. And that's one of the things that I posted something on social media. We was in Colombia. We didn't talk about being in Colombia.
Oh, we didn't. Yeah.
We got to catch y'all up on what's been happening.
We went.
Well, we went to Colombia.
I did do a vlog though on traveling there.
Did it post?
Yes.
Did you post it on
my personal page?
So we went to Colombia, and I said I want to get some content with Alani, and I was like, and she did like a quick little mini vlog. I was like, where are we? She's like, Colombia, and I was like, you having fun? She's like, yes. And I was like, are you happy? She's like, yeah, something like that. But it's just like those moments where you're able to work and still include the family in some of the tasks. Like this is technically work for us. But being able to, if Alani was here, we could bring her into the podcast, let her play around. But this is now us creating opportunities for ourselves and our family. And then even, for example, with the cleaning business, like there was a time where your mom had to talk to some people speaking Spanish. And like, these are opportunities. We've had one of my frat bros brought his 2 kids in, and they was picking up phones during the summer or calling people in their own businesses. So these are the things that you're able to do that a traditional 9-to-5 might not allow you to do. So it's like, I can't hire my kids in my 9-to-5 because I don't own a job. But my boss could hire his nephew that didn't know a damn thing about the job. And that's another story for another day. But these are the things that are measured, that helps us measure the type of success that we want by the opportunities that we're able to provide for other people. And friends, family, we can invest in our friends, we can invest in our families, we can invest in their businesses, we could hire them to do things for us, with us, alongside us. And it's like always opportunities that we can create for other people.
And just along the lines of creating those opportunities for your children, just being able to do like, okay, from at a young age, Alani was in swimming, gymnastics, music class. Same thing will be for Amaya. And then soon we'll be signing her up for possibly ice skating or dance and all these other things. So those opportunities and the impact that we can have in our family, and even something as Alani seeing us on YouTube, because she watches YouTube here and there with Miss Rachel, and once in a while our video would be there. And she's like, I want to watch that. And it's mommy and daddy. So these podcasts can be an impact, on our family and our children, which I think kind of brings us to the next thing, the third thing.
Creating community and legacy is another way we measure success. That legacy piece. Everyone talks about generational wealth and passing down money, but what does the actual legacy of your family look like? And the YouTube part of it is a funny one, because your grandmother...
My grandmother in Panama watches it, 92-year-old. She watches our podcast. Shout out to Abuela.
Shout out to Abuela. She watches our podcast. She's 92 years old. She's on YouTube consuming our content. Imagine if you could go back and watch videos of your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother or great-grandfather, what they were doing at that time. What were the struggles going on?
Well, you know what they were doing, but still. A little different. It's a little different.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, it wasn't.
Wasn't that? But we're gonna move forward. We're breaking generational curses, and hopefully things continue to change. Well, they have, obviously. But yeah.
So you mean they was out there picking?
Yeah, there was no time for this.
Yeah, this is the thing that the legacy that we're talking about. Like, we would hope that stuff is not recorded. It's documented. It needs to be shared, obviously. But we don't know what the next 2, 3, 4 generations will look like. So if they come back and watch our videos, this could be that version. Like, oh, they got to record stuff. They got to sit there. They don't have their...
just think about it. And
they don't have their hologram doing that stuff for them. Like, oh my God, that could be... Yeah. So imagine your kids looking at videos of yourself and what you guys were going through and what you guys were accomplishing, and being able to pinpoint the time and generation that somebody decided to change. Somebody decided to say, I'm going to pay off $114,000 of debt. I decided to leave my 9-to-5. I decided to have these kids. I decided to take them traveling. I decided to start sharing on social media. And that could be anyone. So when you talk about creating a legacy, it's not just about the generational wealth. It's about also the teaching moments and the opportunities and the rewards that you're allowing people to receive on behalf of that.
I think another big one for us is, the joy of building a community with Clean and Business University. Now, there's not many times that we sit and kind of do kudos to ourselves, but every once in a while, when someone just simply says, thank you for allowing me to think differently, or thank you, and I have had 2 bookings, thank you, and I hit 10,000 in 2 months, or whatever it may be, that is community, that is legacy, that is an impact on someone's life and family that we probably didn't even think about that would always be with them. Like if you have this cleaning business, you can pass it down to anyone. It can be part of your family forever. And that's something that the Heart Dogs have played a part in. So that's huge for us. Our cleaning business community is huge. For those people that once in a while just let us know what's happening, we thank you because we wouldn't know, right? And sometimes it's like, do people still want this? And does it make sense to still do this? And even if you don't open a cleaning business, and you do the course and you do something else with it, or you just get some type of knowledge from us, even from our podcast, from our content, then that is part of our legacy. That's part of the community that we are building. So I think that that's not a bigger thing, because obviously it's important for our family to see us, and kind of be a part of that. But we've impacted strangers and thousands of strangers that we may never hear from, and people that we have changed the trajectory of their life, and not just their life, their legacy. So I think that's just as important. So kudos to us on that.
High five.
Here we go. Celebrate.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So you think about what kind of legacy you want to leave for your family, your community.
That's it. She nailed that one. Personal growth and self-discovery
is number 4.
Building businesses have stretched us as individuals, as people, as parents, as family, as friends, learning patience, learning communication, learning resilience. These are versions of success that you may or may not think of when you start your business. We've grown as a couple, balancing these type of conversations. Like Janoka was like, I don't want to record. Anthony wants to record. Anthony's always recording. Janoka wants to record today, so here you go. Right, so
here we are.
These are many wins that you go out and you realize these are versions of success that have nothing to do with money. So you talk about all the things that you've been able to accomplish, but the personal growth and discovery of yourself and others, that's a version of success that we have to be reminded of constantly. Yeah,
I think, like you said, the confidence and clarity. So when we first started our cleaning business, it was our first business. So there is no confidence there. You may have confidence in other areas, but when you're doing something new, something that you've never done before, you're not as confident with it. You think like, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I doing this right? You're questioning everything that you're getting started with when you don't even need to, right? Because half of us don't know what we're doing either. We're just doing it. That's the difference. We're actually going to try it, fail, and do it again. And some of us are just going to sit back on the side and say, like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm not going to start it. So I think that with personal growth and self-discovery, you do gain that confidence in areas that you may have never thought of, right? So when I think about, just for myself, when I think about doing content, I'm like, I shouldn't be scared of doing content. I've been doing it for 7 years, right? And that's a confidence that's come just with time, right? So just something as simple as that, the personal growth and the self-discovery that you learn throughout the process. And when you have these conversations with people, you never think about it in the moment per se, but it is something that kind of helps you and builds to your success throughout your life, because no one can take that away from you, if you know what I mean.
So. Yeah, that no one can take that confidence away from you. So it took us 5 years to build our first 7-figure business. We built our second 7-figure business in
2.5 to
3 years.
Yeah.
Now, think about the third venture that we decide to start, right? Will it take 2.5 years? Will it take 2 years? Will it take 1? You're able to compound those experiences. You're able to compound that growth. You're able to take what you learned from your 9 to 5, from that first experience, from that second into that third. And it all snowballs into a accumulation.
Sounds like Kamala.
Oh, they need her now. We all need her, right? So it becomes a accumulation of skill sets. What's the game? Liam Nelson have a particular skill set. Is that him?
Oh, I don't know. But you reminded me of something else. But go ahead.
Have a particular skill set that can be used to find you in a.
But yeah, and any movie he Taken,
yeah, have a particular set of skills that. But either way, you have a particular set of skills that you can now use as snowball, because you have that personal growth, you have that development. And that's another version of success that you have to be mindful of that has nothing to do with monetary.
So before we get to the last one, I just want to recap all the things that we're saying. So what success looks like for us beyond money. The first one we spoke about was freedom of time. The second one was the impact on our family. Number 3 is community and legacy. Number 4 is personal growth and self-discovery. And the last one is joy in the everyday moments, which I kind of touched on at the beginning. So the simple joys of things, family vacation, lazy mornings, spontaneous adventures, weekends, bringing out the bouncy house in our backyard for our daughter to jump in. That is success to us. We have a house, we have a bouncy house that our daughter can utilize, and we don't have to go anywhere to do it. We've had events at our home. We've had our baby shower. We've had our housewarming at our home. Those are little success joys, a moment to bring our family and friends together in something that we build, something that we're comfortable in, for them to have those moments with us. The financial freedom of prioritizing those moments, right? Because you do need some type of money to do these things. Taking our children to Disney World with us, where we had all the grandparents with us. We don't know when we'll ever have that type of vacation again, where we can have all the grandparents join. Or taking our daughter to South Africa with us, where she went to safari. I don't know if I'll ever do that again. Will she ever do it again? Who knows? So those little joys and everyday moments are definitely part of the success, definitely part of what we think about when we think about success. And we were talking about that, I think, the other day, because Tony kind of kicks and fights to go to any vacation, and he's never really excited until like the day before. And I'm excited 5 months in advance. I'm like, we got to book the ticket now. And he's like, every time he gets there, he's like, yeah, this was really good. We needed this. We should have done this. And I'm like, I know that. You didn't have to tell me that. I knew. I just had to like pull it out of you. But, you know, you never kind of regret those moments that you have with family and friends, and you spend, and that spontaneous trip to New York, like just being there for an event. You just never regret those things.
And let me give you guys some real life context on the monetary success and how it feels in certain aspects. And I'm going to make it super relatable to where you are today and also where we are today. So think about where you were 7 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever you were doing. There was a time, or let's say last year, there was a time and a moment where you prayed to be where you are today. You might have cried for it. You might have wanted it so bad. You said, if I get there, I'll be good. And I want you to visualize this, because I remember when I wanted to get my first job in New York City, and I was like, I hope I get to leave Albany, New York, and go to New York City. I hoped, and I prayed, and I wished. And then I got it, and I said yes. And then 7 years later, 8 years later, I'm like, oh, I'm still here. 9 years, like, yeah, I love my job. I love the people. I no longer love the job. And it's like, okay, now I'm just doing the same thing. It's like, what's next? But I remember 8 years ago, 9 years ago, praying for that job. Think about what you prayed for, and then when you got it, and imagine and then you know how you felt when you got it. I remember when we hit our first, we wanted to pay off $114,000 of debt. What happened? We did it. Mm-hmm. It was like, oh my God, we did it. We popped champagne. Very next day, it was like, okay.
Yeah, what's next?
What's next? And then I remember we didn't even know that we became millionaires. Like, oh, we can't wait to become millionaires. And then we became it. We didn't even know it. And then it was like, oh, okay, what's next? And then it was like, oh, wow, I wish I made $100,000 in a quarter. And it's like, oh, okay, we did it. And it's like, oh, wait, what's next? Okay, maybe $100,000 in a month. What happens? My life will be so different. And that was 3 years ago. And it's like, okay. And then we did it again multiple times. And it's like, well, I want to make $1 million. And it's going to be the same cat and mouse game when it comes to financial success. So you have to realize there are going to be versions of success that you need to find outside of monetary, because the money ain't it. The money can provide some of those things that we spoke about. But when you get the money, you hear it all the time. So Will Smith said, I hope and I wish that everyone could be rich so they can know what it feels like and realize it's not all that.
Yeah.
So they can really, he said, I wish everybody could be rich so they could actually find what success and true happiness is. Will Smith is way richer than me. Way richer than us. He's like, I wish everyone had the feeling of being rich and wealthy so that they could find out what true happiness actually means, because it's not that. So we gave you guys some encouragement, but we also want you guys to think about what does success and happiness look like for you now today beyond money. What brings you the most
and beyond the
joy?
standards of society, like just for yourself, because that's another thing. Like we said, careers is usually attached to that. Beyond money, beyond the standards of society, what does it look like for yourself? You know, what brings you the most joy and fulfillment? Those things are success.
Absolutely.
You know, seeing your body change, running running a mile consistently. Like those things are success that we just like, oh, okay, I did it. Or this person does it all the time. That's nothing to do with anybody else. But what about you? What about your family? What about the intentions that you kind of set? Which is always important as to like, brings us to like goals, which that's going to be our next episode, you know, the quarterly goals. Like how are you even measuring what the success is if you don't have it written down or know what you're striving towards, right? So beyond money, what brings you most joy and fulfillment? Just think about that. Comment on, you know, our YouTube, comment on our Instagram when we post this. Let us know what are the things that you look at and what do you measure. Health is a big thing. That's beyond success, right? Because another thing you don't have control over, that you just hope that you'll be here forever. You hope that you eat right. You hope that you do all these things. So, yeah, I don't think I had anything for that. Let me see if there's anything else.
So appreciate you guys tapping in. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever you watch into the episodes. And also make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube. Again, super important. Is one little thing that you can do to help us. And tap into cleaningbusinessmasterclass.com. Teach you how to start and scale a remote cleaning business without cleaning any houses.